Okay, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you all to the November 26th Cape Day edition of our Board of Commissioners meeting, as Commissioner Timmons so kindly pointed out. So I do want to remind everybody, this is a public meeting. We are being recorded via audio and video, and following state law, we do have a hybrid option available. That being said, any awards, recognitions, or correspondence? Commissioner Timmons.
I don't have none of the above, but what I do have is a comment on last week. I thought that the Association of Oregon Counties Annual Conference was really kind of over and above what it's been in the past. I thought that it was spot on issues that we're all facing every day. And the overall results and the ability for participation was great. I was really happy with the participation, whether virtually or in person, of the folks from Umatilla County. And then one other things, I just want to make sure we offer our prayers for Susan Robbins, Commissioner from Wallowa County.
Thank you for that. Okay, approval of minutes of previous meetings, November 6th and November 13th of this year.
So moved.
Motion is second. I'll pray the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Any additions to the agenda? Public input and recognition of visitors. Now is your time to address the board if you would like to do so. Now is your chance to discuss anything that's not on the agenda. Got one in the back there. Good morning.
Morning.
See you sitting there when I came in.
My name is Tim Labor. Well, good morning, Commissioner, by the way. My name is Tim Labor. I'm a resident over there at Mountain Free Water.
One thing I've failed to mention is give us your name and address for the record.
Okay, Tim Labor, and 51169 Phillips Road, Mountain Free Water, Oregon 97862. My concern today is kind of looking for a little bit of information on our Blue Mountain Station Bridge at the Cow Creek Commission or drainage. And my big thing is for emergency kind of emergency usage as far as well as our farmers get in and out and kind of access Highway 11 a little bit better. So just kind of been a long time. Bridge has been on a long time, and just like to see where we're at and see what's going on down there and what we can do to get the ball rolling a little bit.
Literally preaching to the choir, but that being said, I'm going to let Commissioner Doran respond where he's the liaison to the roads.
I told Tim that he needed to continue to be the squeaky wheel.
Yeah.
It's still right where you and I had our discussion last month. The engineering is moving forward. It actually is on track, which is sad. It's on track to be probably taken care of before Thorn Hollow, which is not good. But, yeah.
This depends on who you are, huh?
Yeah.
That was my next point. Some things are getting done.
Yeah, it's moving. It's the speed of government for sure. It is moving. Like I explained to you before, is bridges right now are generally in the 7 to 9 year range. The county is committed to make this one a faster project, and the engineering is progressing. And the nice thing is probably we'll see some action out there as far as test holes and pilings. I'm going to say late spring. Won't hang me if I give you a date. But that will be the first step, and then the approval on the engineering of the bridge deck. And then once once that's done, whatever the construction period time to build because it's a prefab deck. So it'll just be a bring in and set. Not tomorrow,
I know it's not tomorrow.
but it is working that direction.
So one thing I did want to kind of, that work, like some bridges got, right after the floods, got fixed right away.
None of the bridges got fixed right.
Harris Park and Nolan,
Harris Park took quite a while, actually.
within a couple years,
Yeah, well, that's where we are with this
or 4 years.
one.
We're getting there.
Because of the flood damage, different funding sources. FEMA came into that one, even though that sped that one up. And which other one?
Nolan.
Nolan was an Oregon opportunity. There's another funding source called Opportunity Grant. Nolan Bridge was funded through that program.
Another thing that sped that one up, if you don't mind,
Yeah,
was vehicles were having to take a different route, kind of like you are. But in this case, there is a fatality because of a train crossing that, if the Macco Bridge would have been in place, that fatality may not have happened.
yeah, they had to go up around and to use Mudflat Bridge. And what happened was a hay truck got hung up. The driver got killed, strictly because of the bridge outage. So that elevated that one fairly quickly. But again, that was another bridge that new technique was used. The good news about that bridge was there was no water window at all, and there was no new abutments. They were able to use the abutments that were there, which Cows Creek actually has to be able to span everything, has to have new abutments. That was a huge difference. But again, that was kind of, I mean, if you have time sometime, I'll show you the video of that bridge because they actually rolled the old bridge off and rolled the new one on. It sped it up by over a year, just the technique. And same with Cows Creek is an engineered bridge. You bring it in and you set it, beats everything. But speed everything up for the people who live there.
Right. Well, another big concern was if we did lose the Redorian Park Bridge on the Wallowa River, how would we access our, well, we flooded, access.
Yeah, well, there's other concerns too. Is
A lot of concerns,
I mean, you start piling them all together. You got Nursery Bridge, it's down to half a lane. Cemetery Bridge is an old bridge. That whole system, that half lane or that restricted traffic is probably going to be that way for 7 years, unless we find funding somewhere to address that bridge. And as you know, ODOT and all these bridges, the highway state funding or the highway trust fund is what funds those in most part. We've been able to hook by crook and find other ways to create funding even for the Cows Creek. But if we strictly had to stick to highway trust fund, I can guarantee you that would be another 5 years before you saw that, because we just saw the new list of priorities and that was not on it.
How about half lane for us?
It doesn't matter how you get there. Exactly.
You're not the only one, Tim, that we hear from regularly. And,
But keep coming back.
yeah, and I'm constantly poking my head in Dan's office saying, hey, what's going on with Cows Creek? So I just want you to know that.
Especially this time when you can just walk across and know that all I need is a bridge.
Mhm.
So, well, I appreciate your time and everything, but
No, thanks for coming in.
We do appreciate your advocacy.
everybody's concerned there on the Cows Creek drainage, so.
Yeah. Well, it's not just the drainage, it's everybody above too.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Ken.
Bye.
Thanks for coming in.
Hey, anybody else wants to address the board for public recognition of visitors on something that's not on the agenda? Hearing and seeing none, we'll jump right into our number 1, which is a comprehensive plan amendment. It's a public hearing. So we're going to suspend our regular meeting and go into public hearing mode. With that, I left my stuff on my desk. Yeah, mine's got my script. Yeah. Sorry about that, Doug.
The Commissioners, Johns has a opening statement.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Last time I realized, didn't I, sent HR a memo, hey, but they're in a meeting.
They're in interviews.
They can't- My SOS message would fall on deaf ears.
I didn't hear any credit or any business cards hit the ground, Doug. Stronger Megan.
Tom brought that.
Thank you.
I thought you were gonna screw those into the door. Oh, you did, okay.
On the witch.
There you go.
Hey,
That
we'll take
worked.
it.
That's right.
Okay, I'll try that again. We're gonna go into public hearing mode now, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, I call this land use hearing before the Umatilla County Board of Commissioners to order. My name is John Schaefer, and I'm the Chair of the Umatilla County Board of Commissioners. Our role today is to conduct a public hearing concerning a request to change the comprehensive plan designation from rural residential to commercial and change the zoning map from rural residential, 4-acre minimum parcel size, RR4, to rural retail services commercial, RRSC. I will begin the hearing by asking staff to summarize the application. I will then ask the applicant to testify, followed by those in favor of the application. Then any persons in opposition or who have questions or concerns will also have a chance to speak. If there is opposition or questions, staff may respond to them. The commissioners also may ask staff and witnesses questions throughout the hearing until the record closes. Any person with an interest in today's agenda may offer relevant oral and/or written testimony, but please only speak when I identify you for that purpose. When you testify, please begin by clearly stating your name and address. If you represent someone else, please say so. If you have any exhibits you want us to consider, such as a copy of your testimony, photographs, petitions, or other documents or physical evidence, please provide it to me or the staff. It will be marked as part of the record. And so at this time, we'll call for any abstentions, bias, conflict of interest, declaration of ex parte contact, and objections to jurisdiction. Hearing and seeing none. The following declaration is required to be read prior to the beginning of the hearing. A, the agenda identifies the applicable substantive criteria for evaluating the request. Staff will review these criteria. B, all testimony and evidence must be directed toward these criteria. C, failure to raise an issue with sufficient detail to afford the decision-making body and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. At this time, I'll call on staff for the staff report.
Thank you, Chair Schaefer. For the record, Bob Walder, Community Development Director. The application before you is a request from Hack Holdings LLC to change the comprehensive plan designation from rural residential to commercial, and change the zoning map from rural residential 4-acre minimum parcel size to rural retail service commercial. The subject property is located on the west side of State Highway 11, approximately 1.5 miles north of Milton Free Water city limits. The site's address is 84722 Highway 11, and the site is identified on Assessor's map as Township 6 North, Range 35 East, Section 25B, Tax Lot 1900. The property is up on your screen there, and there's also exhibits in your packets. Provide a little background information. This application stems from a code enforcement violation, and I can provide a little context about that. County records show that the applicant and owner purchased the subject property in February of 2022, and Umatilla County Code Enforcement issued a 30-day warning to the owners of the subject property on June 15th, 2022, The warning was for the unpermitted operation of a business in the RR4 zone. Subsequent to the warning, planning staff made contact with the property owners to discuss property rezoning to correct the violation. The second warning was issued to the owners of the subject property on July 12, 2023, due to continued operation of the business without land use approval. Planning staff again made contact with the property owners to prompt them to prepare a plan amendment to correct the violation. The subject property continues today to be used by the applicant and to store RVs, trailers, and campers in support of the applicant's business operations, Click It RV. An application for a comprehensive plan map amendment and zoning map amendment was submitted to Umatilla County Community Development Department on June 12th of this year, and staff has prepared findings, which are attached. In accordance with the requirements of Umatilla County Development Code and Oregon Transportation Planning Rule, the applicant has also submitted a traffic impact analysis, which is attached in your packets as Exhibit C. The criteria of approval are found in Oregon Revised Statute ORS 197.195, Oregon Administrative Rule, Chapter 660, Divisions 12 and 15, and Umatilla County Development Code, Sections 152, 750 through 755, and Section 152.251. 35-day plan amendment notice was provided to the Department of Land Conservation and Development on September 19th. The notice of the public hearing was mailed on October 4th to owners of properties located within 250 feet of the subject property. Notice was also published in the East Oregonian on October 12th, notifying the public of the applicant's request before the Planning Commission October 24th and the Board of Commissioners today. The first evidentiary hearing was held before the Planning Commission on October 24th at 6:30. During the hearing, the Planning Commission voted 8-0 to recommend approval of the amendment by the Board of Commissioners. The second evidentiary hearing is here before you today. The Board of Commissioners are tasked with making a final decision whether or not to approve or deny the proposed comprehensive plan amendment and zoning map amendment. Staff prepared sample motions for the board's consideration, and these are also provided in your packet. With that, that concludes the staff report. Are there any questions?
Quick one, Bob. On the crash analysis, on the, it only has through 2022. Is that just because that's the latest info, or is that because that was the last one?
I believe that's the latest information that they had in terms of crash data that they were able to obtain.
I have a question too
You
on
bet.
that, Bob. Same, down the same road as Commissioner Doran just did. They compared the intersection right there where Click It RV is. One was, they said Apple, I think it was Applegate, it's Appleton Road.
Appleton.
Yeah. They used that as a comparison, and that's interesting because where Click It RV is, you have a little mini mart right there, and right there on Ferndale Road, no, Sunnyside Road would probably have been a better comparison because of the drive-in theater right there, and then the mini mart right there. It's interesting that they used Appleton Road on that, just because, and also Appleton Road doesn't go straight through. You've got East Appleton and West Appleton, but East Appleton goes straight across the fairgrounds. Those are split up. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting comparison on those two, just because, you know, they're not even. I mean, you could probably have found a better comparison. And the other thing was it's Cobb Road, it's not Cobb Street, so.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Yeah, you could certainly bring that up with the applicant, I believe, or their attorney, I believe, is on the call
Okay.
and inquire about that. For the purpose of this, I believe their plan is to actually close off the access to the subject property and rely on Crockett Road for their primary access. So, but they can elaborate more on that
Okay.
in their testimony.
For comparator, Sunnyside Road is also a state highway. That might be part of the difference.
Okay.
I'm just guessing that would be.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Good document.
Okay, any other questions for staff? No? Okay, at this time, call for proponents and the applicant and a representative to speak.
Good morning, Chair Schaefer. This is Garrett Stevenson. I'm an attorney with the applicant, who's Hack Holdings, but the parent company of Click It RV. So I'm going to just refer to Click It RV today. And in the audience, I believe, is Kevin Smith, who is the manager of that facility out there in Milton Freewater. So I don't have a whole lot to add to the excellent overview that Bob gave you. I want to say at the outset, I really, really appreciate how the county has allowed us to handle this. This is one of those cases where I think that everybody had good intentions, but the fact of the matter is Click It purchased this property and it happened to be split zoned. And the site to the north has appropriate zoning. That's where they're currently doing their servicing. And I think unbeknownst to them, the site to the south was zoned for rural residential. And so I think this stems from an honest mistake, not an intention to evade the county's zoning code or anything like that. And I just want to commend this county on how reasonable it was in dealing with the enforcement issue, allowing us to file this application and to try and make this right so that we can abide by the county's zoning codes, but also allow this business to continue operating. You've got a great planning director in Bob Walder. So as far as the practical reality on the ground, I think that is, I believe, Commissioner Timmons' questions. Right now, and Bob, I don't know if I can share my screen, but I think it might be helpful if I do. I'm going to try this and hopefully it works. It looks like I can. Okay.
Yeah, I can
Commissioners,
see
can you all see this?
Yes, we can.
Mhm.
Thank you. So right now, the primary sales site for Click It RV is going on right up here. And their service is going on here. And they're storing additional inventory down here. And this the zone change really fixes a number of problems. At the outset, it fixes the zoning issue, but it also means that Click It can move its sales facility down onto its property here. This sales facility is currently leased. It is not owned by Click It. And the goal is not only to fix the zoning, but also to make sure that we can combine all of these onto one site. And that has some extremely positive benefits from a traffic standpoint, because right now, if you want to bring one of these RVs down here to service it, you have to take it onto Highway 11 and either enter here onto Highway 11 or turn onto Crockett Road and enter here. Once this zone change is approved, the goal is to move all of this down here. And so you've got one consolidated site. Right now, there are 2 access points on this site that access Highway 11. The goal is going to be to close one of those off. And so what you're left with is, instead of having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 potential access points for this business, you're going to consolidate down to 2. One is going to be onto Crockett Road, and then one is going to be on the site itself onto Highway 11. So this really represents a nice consolidation of what right now is a requirement to go back and forth about 1/4 mile every time you want to move an RV from the service up to sales and vice versa. So the traffic analysis we did was called a TPR analysis, and that's Transportation Planning Rule. And what that requires us to look at is whether the change in zoning will have a significant effect on the transportation facilities that it's going to access. And what we found is that it won't, for a couple reasons. Number one, there are uses allowed in this rural residential that potentially can generate similar amounts of traffic. That's explained in the report. But also because we're consolidating these access points and bringing the whole facility onto one site, it's our belief that this will reduce, not increase traffic. And that's, I think, especially important when you've got RVs that are pulling out into Highway 11, which are not known for their rapid acceleration. So it's going to be, I think, a good thing for Highway 11. It's going to be a good thing for the county because we're basically zoning this site for what it really is practical to be used for, which is some limited types of commercial. And also it's going to be a good thing for Click It so that we can get all of our facility onto one site. We don't have to move on and off the highway just to move RVs between our facilities. So that's kind of the practical reality on the ground. I think that the questions on zoning and land use law are adequately covered in the staff report and our application. But with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Maybe Bob can help on this question. I'm sorry, Garrett, can you put that back up real quick?
Absolutely. Give me one sec here.
The road on the south side of the property, does that have a right of way on it? Or is that the south side of the property, does that have a right of way next to the agriculture?
This right here.
This right here, yeah.
Do I have my cursor in the right place, Mr. Dorn?
Yes.
Okay. So the way it works on an ODOT facility is that each property typically has at least one by right access point. Right now, this was used, I think, at some point for residential. There's still, I think, a modular or a manufactured home on there. Kevin can explain better. But each one of these distinct parcels has a right to access onto Highway 11. I think what we're trying to do is we're going to retain that right of access, but we're going to, in terms of how we're actually going to operate, we're going to consolidate these access points into one.
Okay, so you're not getting rid of that one access.
I don't know. Actually, I'm not exactly sure which access point they're going to choose. It may be advantageous when we lay out the site to create a new access point, abandon this one that's a little bit closer to here. I'm not exactly sure yet at this point. And to do that, we would need to go through an ODOT highway approach permit. And what ODOT would ask us to do is to close one or both of these access points if we're going to do a new one. And that would be our access permit. The right of access, I think, would still live with these parcels. So if for some reason they were sold separately and another business went in here, they would still be able to access the road. They would have to get a different road approach permit to do that.
So is the goal to turn that into one lot?
Well, there's really no need to turn it into one lot in terms of like a consolidation. I mean, we could if there was a reason for it. A lot of times you would do that if you have an issue with setbacks. So for example, right now, I believe the code allows up to one building of 3,500 square feet on each of these parcels. And I could see a scenario where if a developer came in and they wanted to build some commercial here, they may want to have those buildings close together. And maybe you need to vacate this line for that reason. I don't think that's the case here. I don't think there's a practical reason why we'd want to consolidate these two parcels.
The reason I asked that, Garrett, goes back to the access that's currently there. Somehow, there's going to have to be access to this property if it's not consolidated. So you maintain this access.
And does this help? This is, I think, where you're looking.
Yeah. It does, but that also accesses this field. So that's kind of my question is, are we losing access to the field?
So there's really.
I don't believe so.
Is there access
to
further
the field would come
south?
through here. And to my knowledge, there's not there's not any access directly to that field here.
It's
Um,
it's closed off. It's literally a driveway to the residence.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think
And it's fenced, it can be closed in the front.
So how does that other piece of property get access? The agriculture?
well, the only piece of property we're dealing with here has access onto Highway 11. This property here,
But it looks to me like there's a right of way, because if you come back here, there must be a right of way that comes through there.
no, there isn't. And Bob, you may
Not
want to
Bob.
put a map up of the parcels, but there's no right of way that I'm aware of that runs south or through our.
There's dirt there, you can
parcel
run a
there.
car down through that.
You can't run a car through it. I understand that part. But if you zoom out,
Commissioner Doran, I can, if I,
there is access here. But what I'm asking is there a right of way?
there's no dedicated public right of way. or
Okay,
private
that's my
right of way
question.
For easement through there.
Okay.
Yeah, and I
property-
apologize,
the
Commissioner.
property
I can't
line.
actually see you while I'm presenting my screen, so I'm having to guess at what you're pointing at. But I think what you're asking is there a right of way that punches through here? Is that right? Where my
Yeah.
cursor is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think there is, Bob. I think that's.
Yeah,
I couldn't quite hear you, but
so my guess is it's probably just a local road that someone has punched in on their own and used it over the years, but it, where it comes onto Highway 11, there is no public, no platted
Yeah.
way or easement.
and what that means is that
Gotcha.
ODOT's never going to let somebody take access that's not either deeded or public right here to get to here. The only access that I'm aware of that serves this parcel is that this driveway right here. And redevelopment of this will require an ODOT approach road permit or highway approach permit, excuse me. And I can almost guarantee you that ODOT will require us to consolidate these access points under that permit, which is fine because that's what we want to do anyway.
No, they cleared it up. There's an access, there's a road on the other side. I just wanted to find out if there was a right of way in between.
Sure. Well, it's a little,
Hey, we're
unfortunately. I
good,
don't
Garrett.
have
You're
quite
just
a
gonna
bit
make
of
me
tools.
confused now. We're good.
But yeah, for whatever reason, Google Earth picks
Just
up
keep
any
going.
kind of road at all, whether it's a legal road or not.
Yeah. No, I'm good, Garrett. Thanks.
Okay.
Anything else from the applicant?
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Any other proponents? Speak in favor. Okay. Anybody want to speak in opposition, either in the room or online? Hearing and seeing none. We don't need comments from public agencies.
We didn't receive any.
Okay. Well, there's no real reason for rebuttal unless you want to rebut yourself.
That's quite all right, Chair.
Thought you might say that. Okay, so at this time, we can either request to keep the record open, or we could move on and schedule a timeline going forward.
I mean, at this point, the applicant would love to waive final written argument and ask for a vote on the application.
Okay, with that, we will close the hearing then, and we will go back into our regular meeting mode. And we can go and take action today on this? Okay. Okay, with that, wishes of the board.
I just have a comment. I love that Click It RV is there. I do. It's a great business. It's been there for a while, and I think it's great for Highway 11. The only concern that I have is that you have Milton State Line School behind you. And, I wish there was a way that you could fix that intersection right there. Because we've had plenty of wrecks there, and, it's just, absolutely nothing to do with your business. I mean, I think you're doing everything right. But that intersection right there is tight. And of course, you've got I know I'm preaching to the choir. And the same thing, you've got an RV, Villadome, I think, parked back in there. So you've got some traffic back in there. And I would love to
Couple
see
gas stations.
couple gas stations and, yeah. So anyway, but I love the idea that you're gonna consolidate maybe the on and off of Highway 11. And even where it is right now, I mean, you're far enough away from that, that intersection to where it really doesn't cause any problems. And I think that, yeah, it's great having you there.
We do as an organization talk about that highway in and out of, as employees, and it is a problem.
Yeah.
And I know as a group and an organization, safety, and I do feel getting them combined will help our input on that highway, trucks and trailers or RVs or.
Yeah, no kidding. I would like to thank you guys for your participation in the safety meetings and the input that you've had. It's been huge. It's helped the whole safety corridor program and the grant. But I also like to thank Clickett for their outreach to the community throughout Umatilla County, whether it be the fair or other things. You're the kind of business that we would like to attract.
Certainly been a great community partner. We appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Well done on the application, by the way. I appreciate that. It was really easy to follow, and you guys have done your homework. So, I'd entertain a motion.
I move for the adoption. I move for adoption of ordinance number 2024-10, the rezone of the Clickett RV property.
Second.
A motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, number 2, property value appeal board appointment.
The annual appointment of the tax appeal board is before the board for consideration. There is one new board member this year and 2 are returning. And those appointments are before the board.
Seems how you're on the ballot.
I guess I should. I would move for the adoption, to adopt order BCC 2024-.
I'll second that. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Amazing that we're only on number 64 in November.
Don't give him any ideas. He's got time.
Good morning, Commissioners. Riley Workman, IT. Before you today to request a purchase for the Sheriff's Office Patrol Division. I've been working with them to keep on a replacement schedule, and in the next year, there's going to be a lot of PCs that are not upgradable to Windows 11. And so at this point, we're looking at purchasing replacements for those PCs. We got a quote from Price Computers for $1,050 per computer, totaling $9,450 for the 9 PCs. And they would also like to purchase Office with those PCs, which we do through Dell on our volume license for $333.12 each, for a total of $2,998.08. The total purchase for the PCs would be $12,448.
Any questions?
No, okay. I move to approve the purchase of 9 PCs with Microsoft Office in a total of $12,448.08.
Motion is second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I will admit I got confused because I was reading the second pinky.
Well, we'll do that one.
Yeah, I know. I like that phrase better.
Well, it's, 3 less PCs, the same price point. I've also worked with the jail on keeping them on a replacement schedule, and we're looking at replacing 6 of their PCs for the same $1,050 from Price Computers, and then the same $333.12. For office, for a total of $8,298.78.
Okay, anybody want to make a motion on that one?
I will, but I do have a comment.
Sure.
So Riley, how often do you have to do this replacement?
So we're trying to get up most departments on like a 4-year schedule, so you replace about a quarter of the PCs per year. And that way we can do, most of the computers that we buy have a 3-year warranty. And so that 4th year, the last year, they're out of warranty, and if they fail, we're already looking at replacing those. That's kind of been the goal of getting them replaced. In this case, we are replacing a few more than we would normally replace because of the Windows 11, or the Windows 10 end of life, the Windows 11 upgrade. They're just a group of PCs that were purchased like 2018, 2019, and 2020 that don't meet the requirements to upgrade to Windows 11. And so that's one, we're working with all of the departments at this point to try and get out, hey, these are replacement ones. The sheriff's office is just one that I've had on kind of a replacement schedule since, I don't know, when I started back years ago. I mean, we've been slowly working on getting them on a consistent schedule to say, we're wanting to replace these, just get them done all at once. Well, we will have, like I said, we'll have more of these coming. We're gonna send out a list to all of the departments, say, these are the ones you're gonna have to upgrade within the next, either this year or the next budget year, due to the lack of Windows 11 upgradability.
Two questions or two things. One is, it's amazing how much computers have dropped just since I've been over half. I remember the first time sitting in this chair, they were coming through at 2,600, somewhere at 3,000.
It all depends on what you're using them for too. These are kind of that mid-range, just, they're doing a lot of office stuff. It is. There's quite a bit of, well, COVID, when you came in, it was, we get COVID and all of the prices like skyrocketed.
You're right. And then the other thing is, a couple different things. One is, if you go through state surplus, there's lots of older PCs. But also, a lot of, like, the nonprofits are always looking. Is there any way, or is it more expense to us or security issues that we could find a way to relight these?
So for a lot of these, it's gonna be their end of life because of the Windows 11 upgrade. For the most part, we do try and reuse PCs where we'll have an older, like the sheriff's office ones. A lot of times what we'll do is we'll take the ones that are able to upgrade and update them a little bit and then put them back out in service to replace an even older PC.
Gotcha.
But with the Windows 11, they kind of did a cutoff and said, we are not going to be supporting certain levels of CPU. We have a TPM 2.0, which is it's the trusted protection module, which basically does a lot of security stuff for your PC, but requiring that. And a lot of the PCs that we bought back then, that wasn't a requirement. And so wasn't something even that was being considered as a requirement up until a couple of years ago when Windows 11 came out and said, hey, we're not going to support farther back or older PCs. You're going to have one that was purchased basically after 2020 or 2021.
The old TPM scam, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's really not a scam. It's more of a security requirement that they didn't have, that they're saying, oh, to increase your security to be able to do the encryption level that's required by a lot of agencies. For example, CGIS is requiring, a certain level of security. To be able to do that, you have to have this specific module that will do that encryption. And so it's one of those that it sucks that they're not supporting some of the older hardware for Windows 11 because places have shown that you can run it on that older hardware. You're missing out on a lot of the security.
They get you coming and going, is what you're telling us.
It's very true. They do.
Okay. Thank you. if there's anything we could do to reuse this, and I know you guys try to do that all the time, so. Even if it's going back to the commissioners and saying, hey, can we donate? I would like to see. Anyway, I would move for approval of this, of the purchase for the jail of 6 PCs.
Motion is second. All for the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Public health purchase.
You
Before
waited so
drops anything else
patiently.
back there.
Hi, good morning. Alicia Lundgren, Deputy Director with Umatilla County Public Health. I have an item before you today for purchasing an item for our Hermiston Student Health Center that opened at the start of this month at Hermiston School. We received a $30,000 Wild Horse Foundation grant that's helping to purchase some of the startup materials. One of those items is a vision screener. So it's this device that you'll hold in front of the student and it scans their eyes and gives you a readout on if they need additional vision referrals. And this device costs $8,265.88. And that is why I'm before the board requesting purchase for this. It will use this Wild Horse Foundation grant for this purchase. And I have one edit in the request action box because originally this was going to be requesting purchase of a hearing screener as well. But we have worked out with the school that a different resource for that item. And so the wording should say purchasing of a vision screen in the amount of not including the hearing screening reference. I missed that edit when I resubmitted this document.
I will tell you that I sit on the foundation board and a lot of times, you know, you have to sell something that's really important to you. You know, we'll go back and forth as the board saying, hey, I think this is important and this is why. But you only do that if there's opposition. I was fully prepared to argue. There was zero need. I mean, it was across the board a yes immediately. So.
Great. We're really excited, very thankful for this funding. We're doing a couple more photo opportunities with the Wild Horse Foundation. They're going to highlight it on their website that they're relaunching. We're excited for this project and thankful for those resources to help get it started.
Very fortunate to have Wild Horse Foundation in our community.
How close would this thing get to a prescription?
Oh, that's a good question. I am not the vision expert. I will say that. We actually have this same device already at our Pendleton School-Based Health Center location, so I am familiar with the device. And it does give quite a bit of information, you know, in identifying if there's stigmatisms or not. So it does provide some good information for making that referral. And that's typically what you do for a vision screening. So we do a lot of these with sports physicals. And typically what you do for a vision screening is there's the chart on the wall that you stand 20 feet away from. And that's a sufficient screening to meet for the sports physical requirement, but this is a higher quality screening that will give you more information than just do you have sufficient vision, and it'll catch more things. And it will also accommodate for, like, if you're wearing your glasses or contacts, it'll account for that. Is your vision sufficient with the correction that you have? And so it's really helpful in that. So it's much more advanced screening than standing and reading off the wall. It also, for this location in particular, we're finding that a good portion of the students that are accessing this site just within the first month are not primary English speaking students. And so to have a vision screening tool is going to be easier than trying to read a wall chart. And we're finding that a lot of students are needing help just reading paperwork to fill it out. Even when the paperwork's written in Spanish. So there's being able to do it without having to read is going to be really helpful.
Well, I have a comment. I will never forget the first time that I was in the 4th grade and put on a pair of glasses and could see. I mean, I will always remember that. And so for kids, that's a big deal. You know, you don't realize that your eyesight is crummy until glasses. All right. All right. I move to approve purchase of Welsh Allen Spot Vision Screener from McKesson in the amount of $8,265.88.
Motion is second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Alicia.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. FEMA compliance measure number 6.
All right, Commissioners, the next item before you, Bob Walder, Community Development Director. The next item before you is regarding some changes to the National Flood Insurance Program and the local requirements that local jurisdictions are required to implement. So Umatilla County, our department, has been tracking these proposed changes to the National Flood Insurance Program, or NFIP, resulting from the biological opinion, or BIOP. You're probably aware there's been a lot of conversation about this lately. The FEMA BIOP requires local governments to implement reasonable and prudent alternatives for floodplain mitigation. And due to recent court challenges, NFIP communities, which we're a participant of, across Oregon, are required to select a pre-implementation compliance measure and notify FEMA of their selection by December 1st of this year. The pick'ems consist of the following options. First is an agent or a local government could decide to prohibit all development in the special flood hazard area. Second would be we could choose to adopt the 2024 model ordinance that requires mitigation of any floodplain development to a no net loss standard. And the third option is require a special habitat assessment and mitigation plan for development on a permit by permit basis in the special flood hazard area to achieve a no net loss standard. At this time, staff is recommending selecting Pick'em option 3 and ask the commissioners to authorize staff to notify FEMA of Umatilla County's selected Pick'em by December 1st. I will say there's a lot of uncertainty around these pre-implementation compliance measures. As you know, it was a highly talked about subject at the AOC conference, and there's a lot of concerns from both counties and cities who participate in the NFIP program. Our reason for recommending option 3 is that it would keep us in compliance with FEMA's requirements, keep us in compliance as a NFIP participating community. If we come out of compliance with the NFIP, we jeopardize losing flood insurance for any property owners in the county. Also, there's the risk of losing any federally backed mortgages or disaster assistance should we have a natural disaster. So those are some risks that we unfortunately have to consider when we're making these decisions. But the thought, I guess the main thing that I gathered at the AOC conference was we should expect that there will be legal challenges filed across Oregon, just because of it's believed by many that these measures conflict with many of the priorities and goals of the state of Oregon when it comes to governor's housing goals, as well as just basic land use requirements and protections for right to farm and things like that. So the other thing I guess I would say with the change of the administration on the federal level, there's some thought that that may change again what we're doing in terms of whether or not we have to implement these. So time will tell, but for now, in order to remain compliant with FEMA's requirements, we would like to notify them of our choice to evaluate floodplain permits on a permit by permit basis. So we have more certainty around.
So we need to tell them which one we pick. So do we pick bad, more bad, or the most bad? Is that
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I think simplified it's pretty complicated, but bottom line is we're putting local authorities in the position of choosing between illegal and illegal, or at least legal interpretation. I am not 100% for this, but I am 100% we need to do something. So I think that your suggestion is correct. I just think it's going to be important that we as commissioners need to make sure that we're at the table when it comes to legal challenges. And how that looks, I think, is going to be important. We're not going to have that voice. But if anything's ever hit Umatilla County as hard since I've been a commissioner, nothing has like this. I think it's worse than just imagining. I mean, we have whole towns in flood zones, and several towns that are all in flood zones. We have freeways in flood zones. We have county roads in flood zones. We have it can't be rebuilt if you take this literally. So it is a challenge. So I just get more frustrated if I say anything more.
To Dan's point, I'm working closely with our GIS department. They actually just completed some mapping for me to be able to see what the impacts will be to properties that we'll have a total number in the county, the unincorporated parts. We'll have a total number of properties that have floodplain on them, so we can see which ones might be impacted. Then we'll also have a tally of how many those properties that are in the floodplain have dwellings on them that might be impacted by this. So we'll have a better sense of that. But you're exactly right. There is a lot of concern on just how this is going to be implemented from a practical level from the planners, as well as the cost that this will, the burden of the cost that this will place on the homeowners to make any improvements. To get to a no net loss standard is very difficult and
Not well on it, but I mean, even if you went from a 24-inch to a 36-inch culvert, now you're having to re-permit that because it's constructed side of it. It makes no sense.
Well, and it's scary, I used to live in a floodplain, and, and if we don't act, those who still do could be because we had to get flood insurance.
Yeah.
And they could be in jeopardy of losing that. So, yeah, I agree with Commissioner Dorn. We have to do something. It's not ideal, but it's the position we're placed in.
It's gonna be interesting to see what your mapping comes up with, because, keep thinking about, we own a rental house, and it's back away from the river, but still considered in the floodplain, and we had to get flood insurance for it when we were going through that in Milton Freewater with the dike. And so, people that do not believe they're in the floodplain are. And like you said, Bob, in order to mitigate that, cost a lot of money.
Downside is I don't even know what permit by permit.
So basically, rather than adopting the model ordinance,
I get that part.
Yeah.
It's what's at the end of the tunnel.
it's very complex, and I've sat through a couple webinars now trying to wrap my head around it, and
We've got very smart people.
Yeah. Unfortunately, some of these I feel like you need a technical background in this subject matter to be able to understand.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
Now there's like 22 other counties that are in the same boat.
So when you have somebody come to you and so you have to go through the permitting process, what do you use for guideline?
So FEMA has put together a guidebook that explains how we're supposed to go through this process. And ultimately, this will be something that we'll have to adopt into our code, the language, what's required for someone submitting a permit. But essentially, the applicant will have to have a habitat assessment demonstrating that there's a no net loss in floodplain habitat with their project. So it places a lot of burden on them. Even if we were to go with the model ordinance, for example, it basically, the permit by permit gets you to the same place as the model ordinance. The result is the same, a no net loss habitat. And all these requirements that the applicants have to. Basically, it's, in my opinion, a way to limit new development in the floodplain.
New definition. But the key to that is a lot of the stuff that Bob just said is counter to Oregon land use law. So it's gonna put Bob, his department, the county, in a position of having to pick between two dominating laws until this gets settled.
Be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, I would entertain a motion.
I'd move to authorize staff to notify FEMA of Umatilla County selected pick-up law.
Motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Fair memorandum of agreement.
Asked Doug to bring this to us for our signatures. From what I understand, the Fair Board approved all of them to sign, or for the Fair Board to sign at the last meeting, and our expectations is we'll have those back by their December. Way we'll have our signatures on it ahead of time. I've moved to authorize signing of the MOA with the Umatilla County Fair.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, next on our hit parade, fair payable. Metal benches.
Oh, did I get in? Not on mine. Oh, that's okay. You want me to address it? These are the benches that were constructed, for last year's fair, the metal ones. They have enough, what they're asking for is a payment to the Hermiston High School metal shop to assemble these as they did the last ones. It is a fundraising opportunity. The reason it's being brought here is because of the dollar amount.
Is there a motion in there?
I'll move. This is a win-win. Not only for the fair, but also for Hermiston High School. Approve payable to Hermiston High School Metal Shop in the amount of $6,468.
Second.
Motion is second, and I will echo those sentiments from Commissioner Timmons. They, I think it's fantastic. We have the Hermiston High School's got a great CTE program, and this fits right into that model. So, well done, Hermiston High. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And last but not least, budget position requests.
As part of the annual budget process, requested to submit requests to the Board of Commissioners for new positions or reclassification of positions for the new budget year. And those are received and reviewed, and a result of the review, the recommendation is to proceed with the most $700,000 impact to the budget. Some of those are general funds, some of those are not general funds. And so the request is to authorize the inclusion in the proposed budget for next year, 2025-26. Position impact and include maybe one or two new positions and reclassifications
comments?
I would like to thank Robert, Paul, and his department, Jennifer, and the HR department. Remember, this is the second or third year we've had this process in place. I think it's one of the best things that we've morphed into since I've been here. Sure has been a way to manage our growth, our employee growth, and actually have a hands-on discussion, multiple discussions of what these positions mean. I think for new commissioners, especially me and Commissioner Timmons, in the old way, it seemed like we got lost in a lot of different things. And so I appreciate it. I just want to say thank you for the way it was done. And I sure like looking at $700,000 instead of almost $3 million, especially when we don't have $3 million and barely have $700,000. And like Doug mentioned, majority of these are outside funds.
That PERS liability didn't help us any here.
No, that's,
Okay, so was there a motion there tonight?
I'll make a motion. Authorize inclusion, I move to authorize inclusion in proposed budget for 25-26 potential position impacts up to 700,000 to the extent possible and still maintain a balanced budget.
second.
That motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Final thoughts, Commissioner Timmons.
I don't have any.
Thank you.
Neither do I. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.